Actors are under a lot of pressure to memorize every single one of their lines. It's important for production to stick to the script, but these scenes prove that some of the best stuff happens right there in the moment. Here are 10 bloopers that made movie scenes better. The Dark Knight. Fans of Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy are hard-pressed to pick a favorite, but The Dark Knight is easily the most iconic. The film delivered on the long-anticipated big-screen return of the Joker. Heath Ledger's portrayal was haunting and complex, but also had some truly funny moments. After the Joker detonates the majority of the hospital bombs, there is one delayed blast. Apparently, even though everyone on set was aware the explosion would be a few seconds behind the others, the actor's reaction to it is genuine. And that's fair enough, since anyone else would probably have done the exact same thing. Casino Royale. With every new Bond movie, there comes a new Bond girl, and usually a handful of pretty revealing scenes. Fans had gotten used to a certain amount of scantily clad cast members, but Casino Royale flipped the script. Sort of. Well, actually, no, it didn't. But it did show us something we didn't expect. A topless James Bond emerging from the ocean. That's a move usually reserved for 007's lady friends. But when Daniel Craig ran into some sandbars while swimming ashore for one scene, he went with it, and sold hundreds of new gym memberships in the process. The Avengers. At this point, it should be clear to everyone that Robert Downey Jr. is going to do what he wants. If he's tired, he sleeps. If he's happy, he smiles. And if he's hungry, he's gonna eat, even if the cameras are rolling. The actor has a habit of squirreling snacks around the set and munching on them whenever possible. His tendency to graze was so unstoppable that the team working on the Avengers just went with it instead of even trying to stop him. Viewers might have just chalked it up as one of Tony Stark's many relatable qualities, but now that we know how it came about, we can't help but admire that level of snacking dedication. The Usual Suspects. No matter how different we may be from one another, most of us can agree that farts are funny, especially if they happen in the middle of something serious. The infamous lineup scene from 1995's The Usual Suspects is a prime example, except you wouldn't know that just by watching it. It seems weird that a bunch of guys standing in a criminal lineup would crack up laughing, but apparently, Benicio del Toro was letting the toots rip during filming. And now you understand why Gabriel Byrne is really covering his nose. The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Carrying the ring to Mordor wasn't just hard on Frodo, even though he gets most of the credit. It crippled some of his mates as well, some more painfully than others. Viggo Mortensen goes through a lot as Aragorn, but breaking 2 toes during the filming of The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers was the most painful. To add a little extra emotional flair, the actor booted a helmet across the set. Too bad nobody told the props department what was going to happen, because they could have switched it out with a fake that wouldn't destroy Mortensen's foot. The Lord of the Rings. Okay, so Viggo Mortensen can't catch a break. First he cracks some toes kicking a helmet into the horizon, then he gets a real blade hurled at his face in battle. We repeat, he deflected a professionally thrown knife heading straight for his face using his prop sword. It's not easy to see through all those prosthetics, and the thrower misjudged his target, sending that blade directly to Mortensen's face. Everyone on set agreed that it was the most badass thing they'd ever seen, and obviously that take was the one that Peter Jackson kept. Midnight Cowboy. It's a beautiful thing when an actor is so deep into their character that they become them in all situations. Dustin Hoffman is a Hollywood legend. You may not know it, but one of the most recognizable lines of dialogue, "I'm walking here! I'm walking here!" came from off the top of his head. While working on Midnight Cowboy, the actor was so into his role as Ratso that when he almost gets hit by a car while crossing the street, he berates the driver and yells with a fury that only Ratso could muster, and follows it up with a one-liner about collecting insurance money. Django Unchained. Over the course of his career, Leonardo DiCaprio has maintained a fairly diverse resume. He's Hollywood royalty and has been in some of the best films of the past decade. Yet, despite his diverse eye, there was one man the actor hadn't worked with, Quentin Tarantino. But all that changed in 2012 with DiCaprio's turn as Calvin Candy in Django Unchained. This was the first time the actor got to put himself in the villain's shoes, and he was devoted. DiCaprio got so deep into the character that when he sliced his hand open on a broken glass during an intense scene, he didn't even notice. As far as Tarantino is concerned, real blood is better than no blood, and that's the take he kept. Zoolander. Since its release in 2001, Zoolander has proven to be a treasure trove of quotable moments, and was single-handedly responsible for a temporary boom in orange mocha frappuccino sales. Given how comedically talented the cast is, viewers might not be surprised that some of the scenes were off the cuff, but some of Ben Stiller's best moments happened purely by accident. The actor would occasionally forget his lines and just keep repeating himself until they came back. Ultimately, the goof turned out to be pretty in line with his character's personality, and those shots made it into the final cut. American Sniper. When American Sniper hit cinemas in 2014, it blew critics away. The subject matter is controversial, and everyone from the casual moviegoer to members of the Academy took notice. But amidst all the sadness, there is one moment that warrants a little giggle. During a particularly heartbreaking scene between the main character and his wife, actor Bradley Cooper snuggles with his baby. The infant is clearly a doll, and you can see Cooper manually moving the baby's fake arm. And that's enough to take anyone out of the moment, including the cast themselves. Cooper has made fun of the bad prop in more than one interview, but still respects the hell out of Clint Eastwood for avoiding the use of CGI.
Batman sees Doomsday. Lex Luthor may have been the antagonist in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, but when powerhouse heroes like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are teaming up, you need some type of crazy villain to try and take them down. Enter Doomsday. The monstrous creature was created by Luthor, but he became a true villain of his own as he rampaged through Metropolis and had a huge battle with Superman. Sometimes in films, it's hard to truly process the scale and size of these CG creatures, but Ben Affleck was able to convey it completely while playing the role of Batman. As Batman flew into the city, he finally got his first glimpse at Doomsday and uttered a simple one-liner that turned out to be the biggest laugh in the film. You could say, "Oh snap," or "Oh shit," but we all knew what Bruce Wayne was really cursing. Batman spent much of the film being brooding and serious as not much impacted him. This is what made the moment so great and allowed viewers to believe how huge and disastrous the monster truly was. The line may have only been 2 words and included a curse, but it fit perfectly with the film. While Marvel movies are filled with one-liners and witty banter, Batman v Superman took a more serious tone, allowing this line to stand out even more.
Don't make this worse.
Define worse.
Thor's hammer storage. A lot of Marvel movies feature characters that are not used to the current Earth as we know it. Captain America travels to the future, Drax the Destroyer doesn't understand sarcasm, and Thor is from a whole different planet. This helps create unique situations that can create funny bits of comedy. In the Thor movies, it's a fun place to watch Thor try to use things from his home planet in everyday life. He is known as a god of thunder, but his actions are conveyed very differently to normal citizens. While Chris Hemsworth's scenes in Thor are almost all scripted, there were a few happy accidents that helped elevate some of the comedy in the films.
Anyone else?
One of the smallest yet funniest moments comes from the sequel Thor: The Dark World. During a moment in the movie, Thor enters an apartment and proceeds to hang up his hammer among normal items like jackets and an umbrella. Chris Hemsworth did this on a whim, and the cut ended up being used in the film. It's pretty funny to see the important Mjolnir hammer get hung up like it's nothing. Even though the hammer is out in the open, at least Thor knows that no one else can simply pick it up and carry off with it.
I better get my pants.
This small moment could have been easily missed or cut from the film, but Hemsworth's goofing off created a great moment which helps fill a transition scene. Hopefully, we see more small moments like that when Thor Ragnarok hits theaters this summer.
Stop moving!
An awkward Harry Potter hug. When sticking to source material like a series of books, there's not much leeway for improvisation. This is why the Harry Potter film franchise is tightly edited, moves along at a great pace, and sticks close to the original scripts. If you have a keen eye, you will be able to spot some of the improvised moments that made the cut in the films. For the final film in the series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, there was one scene made up on the spot and brilliantly fit in with the production.
I've always wanted to use that spell.
As Lord Voldemort confronts the whole school of Hogwarts with Harry's presumed dead body, Malfoy must choose whether to join his side or not. In a tense moment, Malfoy crosses the schoolyard and embraces Lord Voldemort with a hug. You can clearly tell Voldemort has given more curses than hugs during this extremely awkward exchange. Ralph Fiennes improvised the exchange, and the Malfoy portrayer, Tom Felton, did not see it coming. Voldemort's attempt at being comforting is hilarious to watch and helped viewers calm down a little bit before the true final battle began between Harry and he who must not be named. Not only do we get to see the awkward hug, but it's fun to watch everyone's reaction to it as the camera cuts from group to group. Star-Lord drops the Infinity Stone. Chris Pratt will be happy to admit that he can be a little clumsy. Fans of the show Parks and Recreation have seen the actor trip, fall, run into walls, and cause all types of set damage while playing the role of Andy. Even though he slimmed down for the role of Star-Lord, things didn't seem too different in the Guardians of the Galaxy films. In the first movie, Star-Lord and the other Guardians must visit an odd duck known as the Collector. It's there where Star-Lord is presenting him with an Infinity Stone. During a take, a huge mistake happens when Pratt drops the orb-shaped stone on the ground. Without missing a beat, he quickly picks it back up and presents it to him like nothing happened. The moment worked well, fit in with the ragtag style of the group, and created another funny laugh in the movie. Chris Pratt has been known for creating a lot of these improvisational scenes, and they continue in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. During one stunt gone wrong, Pratt was dropped down from stunt cables way too fast. Still dazed, he popped up and finished the scene so the stunt could still be used in the final cut. It shows Pratt's dedication to the craft, and more importantly, the comedy. Doctor Strange Musical Artist. Marvel's Doctor Strange features multiple dimensions, sorcery, and mind-boggling effects, but helps ground the viewer with lots of pop culture references and views of popular cities across the globe. It's easy to process the crazy dimensions and warped views of New York City when you can see famous landmarks and billboards. Even though a lot of the pop culture references were planned, Benedict Cumberbatch took it upon himself to add in a few more. During training scenes, Doctor Strange has a cultural clash with Master Wong. Wong isn't too connected with pop culture, allowing the Doctor to have a little fun with him.
You're not ready for that.
Try me, Beyonce.
He included a variety of musicians, including Adele, Eminem, and Drake among his lines.
You've heard of her. She's a huge star, right?
To cap it all off, he decided to include the Queen Bee herself, Beyonce. After mentioning her and how popular she was, there was a callback during a later scene. As Wong studies with headphones, it's actually revealed that he's playing a Beyonce song and catching up a little bit with pop culture. The funny moment from Cumberbatch turned into an extended segment from the film and truly gave viewers a lot to relate to. At least we all know that the Ancient One will never be revealed as Becky with good hair. Spider-Man's training session. One of the wittiest heroes in the Marvel Universe is Spider-Man. Out of the costume, Peter Parker may be geeky and shy, but he definitely gets a huge confidence boost when he's under the mask. Spider-Man has a lot of great one-liners and jokes that just roll off the tongue. In the Spider-Man movie world, these lines all began with Tobey Maguire in the 2002 version of Spider-Man. Along with a screenplay written by David Kopp, Maguire was given a little free rein to make Spider-Man all his own.
Set him down, tough guy.
Both in and out of costume, Maguire was able to add some fun to the role. While goofing off during takes, Maguire was able to create a memorable scene as he was discovering his Spider-Man powers. After climbing up the side of a building, Parker needs to learn how to use his spiderweb powers. As he flails his hand, Maguire used a variety of lines including Shazam and Go Web Go. He even added a fun nod to Marvel rival DC Comics by saying, "Up, up, and away, Web." This is the classic Superman quote that was used with tongue-in-cheek style by Maguire. His improvised lines were said in jest, but used in the final cut of the film. It ultimately created a training scene that was funny, effective, and made us all believe that he was the true Spider-Man. Fast and Furious spit take. On a stunt-heavy movie like Furious 6, there's only so much that you can improvise. Car scenes, fight scenes, and other action scenes must be planned down to the last second to ensure they go smoothly. During some of the smaller scenes, the actors have a chance to play around a little bit and bring their natural charisma to the role. Enter Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. As a former WWE wrestler, Johnson has spent years improvising on the mic, insulting other superstars, and thinking on the fly. All of this training made him a perfect fit with Fast and Furious cast members like Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, and Tyrese. During a scene in Furious 6, Tyrese's character Roman gets a chance to rag on Johnson's character Hobbs. Before Roman can even finish his one-liner, "Hide the baby oil," Hobbs is already snapping back with a forehead insult of his own.
Hey, Mia, you better hide your baby oil.
I'm just playing.
You better hide that big-ass forehead.
I was just joking.
The line was so sudden and off the cuff, it caused Ludacris to actually spit out his drink during the scene. That wasn't supposed to happen. It was a legitimate spit take the filmers kept in because it was just so funny. In the end, Hobbs got the last laugh and made Roman truly look like a fool in a scene that was supposed to be the other way around.
Sorry about that, boys.
Whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
The Joker's slow clap. Heath Ledger mastered his role as the Joker in Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. He embraced the character, truly transformed into the Clown Prince of Darkness, and earned his Academy Award for the famed role. Not only did Ledger have to memorize all of the Joker's lines in the film, but he added a lot of his own. Movements, intricacies, and facial expressions all helped the Joker come to life. During one scene, an improvised moment truly made the scene come to life and added a lot more dynamic to it. As the Joker sat in a jail cell, he overhears Detective Gordon get promoted to commissioner for helping catch the Joker. Naturally, the rest of the Gotham City police squad applauds his promotion. And then you hear it. A slow clap begins in the background and is revealed to be done by the Joker. The improvised moment shows the creepiness of the Joker, but adds a lot of dark humor at the same time. It's amusing to watch Ledger clap within the cell and essentially taunt the man who gets a promotion for taking him down. This is just one of the many moments where Ledger shined in this film. It's too bad his death prevented the brilliant actor from returning to the infamous role.
You should wear your seatbelt.
Hey, look, kid, I don't need advice on auto.
Wolverine's first-class improv. Hugh Jackman has played a massive role in the X-Men universe. He led the large ensemble in the first X-Men movie back in the year 2000 and eventually starred in his own Wolverine trilogy of films. Jackman has grown to fully embody the essence of the Wolverine character and truly made it his own. Once X-Men First Class was announced, fans were disappointed to learn the prequel would not include Jackman as Wolverine. When the film hit theaters, fans were in for a shock as Wolverine himself appeared for a brief cameo. Not only was it great to see Wolverine in the movie, but the whole scene was completely improvised. In typical Wolverine fashion, the mutated beast sat at a bar drinking and smoking a cigar. He was approached by younger versions of Magneto and Professor X in an effort to recruit him for a special mutant school.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher.
Sounds Xavier.
Go fuck yourself.
In a matter of seconds, Wolverine told them exactly how he felt about the school with a quick and smart improvised line. It only took a few choice words and an F-bomb to send the two away. The scene added a great laugh to the flick, and it's all thanks to Hugh Jackman's quick wit. Thankfully, he returned in X-Men Days of Future Past and got to have a lot more scenes with the younger generation of X-Men characters.
No one cared who I was till I put on the mask.
A lovely, lovely voice. In The Dark Knight Rises, Tom Hardy had the pressure to follow up Heath Ledger's brilliant role of the Joker by playing the evil villain Bane. Bane has the strength and power to destroy Batman, but he also needed to have the strengths and dialogue to deliver fresh scenes. Tom Hardy must have known this while filming because he truly transformed into the Bane character. One of the key scenes early in the film takes place at a Gotham football game. Bane manages to blow up the whole football field as fans watch stunned. Before this climactic explosion, Bane quietly waits in the athlete's tunnel. As a young boy sings the national anthem, we get a view of Bane quietly listening. This is when Hardy delivered the now classic improvised line, "What a lovely, lovely voice."
That's a lovely, lovely voice.
The line has so much to it. The 5 words are full of sarcasm, dark humor, and makes you wonder about the man who's about to blow up the whole field. The line was never intended, but it actually added to the suspense of the scene. Was the boy going to be blown up? We would have to wait and see. But maybe it was that lovely voice that saved him all along. While other film versions of Bane have been a disappointment, Tom Hardy added a lot to the character with just one simple line. Now, if only Bane's voice was just as lovely as that boy's.
Hey, Groot. Dude, don't drink fountain water, you idiot. That's disgusting.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Fellow lovers of comic book movies will all agree that Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the best Marvel movies of all time. Next to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, of course. Because who doesn't love the too cute for words Baby Groot? We can't imagine anyone other than Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans playing our favorite heroes Iron Man and Captain America. And when it comes to the Guardians' leading man Star-Lord, Chris Pratt was pretty much born to play the hero. He's charming, funny, and a total goofball, which makes it look like this scene from the movie was totally on purpose. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. The scene in question is when Star-Lord and the Guardians are introduced to the Collector. Star-Lord offers up the orb he took from the planet Morag, not knowing it contains an Infinity Stone. He ended up accidentally dropping the orb, but quickly snatched it up and proceeded to offer it up like nothing had happened. Considering Star-Lord's personality, we don't second-guess the moment. But it was revealed that it was actually a mistake that James Gunn liked so much, he left it in. And we are so glad he did.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got an after-funeral party to attend.
ZOOLANDER. People all make mistakes, right? How many times have you forgotten what you were saying? Chances are quite a few. And when it comes to movie stars, there are no exceptions. Because stars are just like us. They too mess up, just like Ben Stiller did in his hit comedy Zoolander. It's understandable when you've got a lot on your plate like he did. He was the writer, director, producer, and lead actor of the film. Well, at least as writer, he was able to easily remember his lines, right? Well, most of them. He forgot one of his lines while he was filming a scene with Christine Taylor and David Duchovny. Duchovny played J.P. Pruitt, a former hand model turned conspiracy theorist. However, he has proof to back up his not-so-crazy claim. Duchovny explains to model Derek Zoolander how the fashion industry has been behind every major murder over the last 2 centuries. What? That seems too unbelievable to be true, right? He continues to explain that because male models are at their peak physical condition and always do what they're told, they make the perfect assassins. The mistake came after Duchovny finishes his monologue and Stiller forgot his next line. So he repeated his last one.
So why male models?
Which ended up working out because Zoolander is supposed to be, well, clueless.
Yourself. You got a great girl, you got a great job where you don't do anything, you get to smoke weed all day. I wish I had that.
Pineapple Express. One of the many reasons we love movies is because of awesome stunts. Stuntmen and women are often hired to do some of the more dangerous action sequences. However, sometimes actors like to try and do their own stunts. But when you're doing your own stunts in a stoner action movie, there are bound to be some injuries. During the comedy Pineapple Express, Seth Rogen ended up fracturing his finger during a fight scene. Danny McBride also suffered some injuries when his head was split open after a bong was smashed on it. James Franco's injury, however, ended up causing a major wardrobe change for the rest of the film. Characters Dale and Saul run around the woods in the middle of the night, and Franco ended up running into a tree pretty hard. He can be seen screaming in pain on the forest floor. He actually ended up needing stitches on his forehead, but instead of trying to cover them up with makeup or try to keep continuity, Franco and Rogen decided to add a headband to Saul's wardrobe. Both stylish and practical. Audiences didn't even think twice about the headband since it seemed to fit Saul's eccentric personality.
Who killed the Witch of the East? Was it you?
No, it was an accident. I didn't mean to kill anybody.
The Wizard of Oz. Thanks to the Wizard of Oz, we learned that there is no place like home, and we can vanquish all of the wicked witches in our own lives. Speaking of wicked witches, we're sure you remember the iconic green-faced Wicked Witch of the West, right? She comes out of nowhere in a puff of red smoke, which was made possible by an awesome trap door on the floor of the stage. This effect went perfectly, especially given that actress Margaret Hamilton did an amazing job at being terrifying. When the Wicked Witch tries to leave Munchkinland, however, the red smoke leaks out of the floor before the actress takes her spot over the trap door. It was a quick mistake, and her exit is accompanied by a huge flash of fire as the witch seems to disappear right in front of us. After this mistake, the crew decided to try and go for a second take, but it ended up going horribly wrong. The actress's cape got stuck in the trap door, and the fire heated up Margaret's makeup, which contained copper. She received first and second degree burns on her face and arms, which took weeks to heal. So they had to use the first take in the final cut.
Kill the Dark One and the Giant, but leave the third for questioning.
The Princess Bride. If you spend hours quoting this fantastic movie, chances are you're an avid fan. As you know, there are some awesome fight scenes complete with pirates, swords, and knights. Oh yes, and even a giant. This story has everything you could ever want. But like with most stunts, sometimes accidents can happen. You might be shocked to know that one of the actors was seriously injured during filming. Believe it or not, it actually wasn't during one of the movie's sword fights. Hard to believe, right? Mandy Patinkin and Carrie Elway performed many of their sword stunts and escaped without any injuries. But Carrie Elway ended up injured during the filming in a scene with Count Rugen. Rugen takes Wesley, Elway's character, hostage, and Rugen had to clock him in the head with the butt of his sword. There were no prop swords available at the time, and the fake clock on the head didn't look real enough. So, Elway suggested that Count Rugen give him a real tap with the sword. Elway woke up in the hospital with stitches on his head. Luckily, this scene didn't call for another take as the knockout actually happened. Ouch. Now that is dedication to your art.
But if I'm reading this correctly, the intruders are taking them.
Star Trek Beyond. Hello, fellow Trekkers, and welcome to what is probably your favorite section. Unless you're not a Trekker, in which case you'll still enjoy this story. The Star Trek reboot trilogy, or Kelvin timeline, follows the enigmatic Captain Kirk and his crew members on the starship Enterprise. Although nothing can ever replace the classic series, these films are pretty darn exciting, especially with all of the new technology available this day and age to create some killer special effects and action sequence. What do you think about the new series? Anyway, in this reboot, the Enterprise crew members get in a lot more fistfights than they did in the original, and most of the time they have a few kicks and bruises. Round of applause to the very talented and convincing makeup artists. But alas, no matter how much you rehearse a fight scene, things inevitably go wrong. Chris Pine, aka Captain Kirk, ended up getting injured and sports the result of that injury in a few scenes. In Star Trek Beyond, there was a fight scene in which Idris Elba took a swing at Pine. Pine had said he saw the punch coming towards him and knew it was going to hit. The result was a real shiner that the filmmakers decided to leave in the film.
In the fourth sector. Taffy Lewis is on the line. Why don't you come on down here and have a drink?
I don't think so, Mr. Deckard.
Blade Runner. Fans of all things sci-fi can definitely attest to the amazingness that is Blade Runner. Although the long-awaited sequel Blade Runner 2049 was met with mixed reviews and criticism, I loved it, fans still have the original film to love and cherish forever. Fans of the original film know that the 1982 classic was extremely difficult to make, especially considering the effects we have available today didn't quite exist yet. Add to that the director and studio constantly fighting over creative control. And since we are talking about mistakes, there was one mistake that actually made the film better. Unfortunately, it came at the expense of actress Daryl Hannah. In her audition, Hannah had suggested to director Ridley Scott that because she was a former gymnast, she could incorporate some of her skills into a fight scene with Deckard. But in real life, she is not a replicant and is a human prone to error just like the rest of us. In the scene where her character meets Sebastian, she had to try and make a quick escape. However, she ended up sliding into the car and smashing through the window with her elbow. None of this was planned, and luckily she didn't break character, but she did chip her elbow in 8 places. Really?
What you do for your master?
Didn't you hear him tell you ain't no slave?
So you really free?
Yes, I was free.
You mean you want to dress like that?
Django Unchained. Director Quentin Tarantino is known for his incredibly intense films, rule-breaking, violence, and harsh dialogue. He's known to push his actors to the limit to get the shots he wants. And when you have an actor as committed and talented as Leonardo DiCaprio, well, there is bound to be some pretty intense movie magic happening. In Tarantino's 2012 film, Django Unchained, we get to see one of the most memorable movie mistakes in modern history. Leo plays psycho plantation owner Calvin Candy, and if for some reason you haven't heard, the blood that flows out of Candy's hand was totally not intentional. This crazy moment happens during Calvin Candy's intense dramatic monologue, where the sadistic man threatens to kill Django's wife right then and there at the dinner table. The monologue itself wasn't terrifying enough, the scene grows more tense after Leo had filmed a few takes and ended up slamming his hand onto the table and shattering a real drinking glass in the process. Real blood started to flow from his hand, but Leo refused to crack and stayed in character. At one point, you can actually see him picking out shards of glass from his bloody palm. The take was so good that Tarantino filmed the rest of Leo's scenes with the character wearing a bandage.
I will draw you, Saruman, as poison is drawn from a wound.
The Lord of the Rings. One of the most famous fantasy stories is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Whether you've read the books or not, we're willing to bet you've seen the films. One of the coolest characters in the film is Aragorn, who's played by the equally badass Viggo Mortensen. When you're playing such an intense character in a fantasy film, it makes sense to try and completely immerse yourself in the role. Mortensen became so involved in his portrayal of Aragorn while filming the trilogy that he insisted on performing many of the character's own stunts. He kept his sword with him at all times and was dubbed the best swordsman by the film's sword master. He actually deflected a knife that was thrown at him by a stuntman who misjudged his aim. Man, can he get any cooler? In The Two Towers, however, Aragorn kicks an Uruk-hai's helmet in anguish and lets out a heartbreaking scream after he thinks Merry and Pippin have been killed. The kick had 3 prior takes, but in the 4th take, the helmet came the closest to the camera and Viggo screamed out. It was incredibly convincing because he had actually broken 2 of his toes in the process. We commend Viggo for staying in character, because we don't know if we would have been that strong.
Yes, I bet you have.
Star Wars. There is no greater and better known franchise than the Star Wars series. The original trilogy spawned merchandise, prequels, spin-offs, and now an entire trilogy of sequel films. And of course, even more spin-offs. We're looking at you, upcoming Han Solo film. Needless to say, Star Wars has pretty much taken over the world. When it comes to the incredibly large, dedicated, and detail-oriented fan base, they've found almost every possible blooper, flaw, and have even created some amazing fan theories within the films. One of the most famous mistakes in the franchise happens in Star Wars: A New Hope. You might miss it the first time around, but once you see it, it can never be unseen. As a group of stormtroopers walk into a control room, one of them bangs his head on the door ceiling. UK actor Laurie Goody says he was suffering from a stomachache while they were shooting and bumped his head. George Lucas kept the take in the final version of the film. The incident had been immortalized in clips, GIFs, and even paid tribute to in Attack of the Clones when Django Fett does the exact same thing. Well, there you have it, folks. These were only some of the awesome movie mistakes that were left in on purpose. Which ones were your favorite? Are there any mistakes that you've spotted in other films that we may have missed? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out more in our awesome playlist. But before we go, here is the answer to the emoji quiz. Did you get it? Be sure to let us know below. And as always, thanks for watching.